Today on the Big 6 in 60, the Rams trade for Trent McDuffie,
It's an absolute blockbuster trade.
while the Chiefs stock up on draft picks and cap space.
There's more at stake, and it starts and ends with the fact that Trent McDuffie was an all-pro.
And the Hornets blow out the Celtics.
On the road,
Yes.
on the second night of a back-to-back.
This is the Big 6 in 60, the 6 biggest national sports stories from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now. Thank you for making the Big 6 in 60 your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Rams and Chiefs made a blockbuster trade yesterday, with Kansas City sending corner Trent McDuffie to Los Angeles for the number 29 pick and 3 others. Locked On Rams host Doug McCain looks at what McDuffie brings to the defense.
It was reported by Adam Schefter and Tom Pelissaro that the Rams are trading for Kansas City Chiefs all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie. It's an absolute blockbuster trade. The terms of the deal, it was quite a haul to get him. The Rams are giving up one of their 2 first-round picks in this upcoming 2026 NFL draft, but it's not their highest selection at 13. It's their second pick in the first round at 29. Remember, the Rams had multiple first-round picks due to the trade that they made with the Atlanta Falcons on the draft last year when they traded into that first round to get James Pierce. The Rams, they didn't even make a first-round pick. They got Terrence Ferguson the second round, so they're able to use some of that additional draft capital to fill a need this offseason. Along with that first-round pick, the Rams gave up their 5th and 6th round picks in this year's draft and a 3rd round pick in the 2027 NFL draft. So, yes, this was a haul. Yes, this wasn't as much as they gave to get Jalen Ramsey. Is Trent McDuffie the player that Ramsey was when the Rams acquired him? The answer is no, but this is still an all-pro cornerback. This is someone who was the 21st overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft out of Washington. He played and started 56 games in his 4-year career so far. He was a part of that Chiefs run, playing in the Super Bowl last season. He had 1 interception. He had 7 pass breakups, 63 tackles, and 1 sack. He did play 13 games due to a knee injury that forced him to miss some time in his career. He has 3 interceptions and 34 pass breakups with 8 forced fumbles and 5.5 sacks. There is some talk that, yes, he does perform better in the slot than on the perimeter, but the bottom line is the Rams got an all-pro cornerback. And, yes, this is a classic example of people finally getting what they want, and then they're going to complain saying that Les Snead gave up too much to get him. And not only do you have to give the draft capital to get Trent McDuffie, well, you also have to get an extension done because he only has 1 more year left on that rookie contract. So you're going to have to pay him as well. But the bottom line is this was the biggest need. And you look at the 5th round pick and the 6th round pick. Do you really care too much about those? I mean, of course, if you're the Rams, you got Puka Nacua in the 5th round. And yes, there's certainly value in getting players that are on very affordable for 4 years, no doubt about that. But the Rams, they have resources, and they also have that 13th pick where if the guy that they want is not available, does Les Snead look to trade down to try to replenish those picks in some capacity? There's a world where that happens. I hope it doesn't. I hope that you make the offense absolutely unstoppable and you get a Mekhi Lemon or you get who knows? Could you get Sadiq out of Oregon if you want to go crazy with it? Do you add a Carnell Tate if he falls to you? Do you go on the defensive side? We saw Caleb Downs at Ohio State having some issues with his knee and the medicals there. Ruben Bain, the shorter arms, and whatever it may be, the knock on guys is if one of those formerly elite top-level prospects falls to the Rams, do they jump and get them? It remains to be seen. Here's the thing, though. Guys like Mansour and McCoy, guy at LSU, Tennessee, the guys that they were looking at the cornerback spot, one, they're not going to be there at 29. they weren't going to be there at 29. And they're also unproven NFL players. If Delaney and McCoy, if they were going to make a first-team All-Pro at some point, that would be really impressive. Would it happen in year one? It's unlikely, because you just never know with young players. There are no guarantees. If the Rams window wasn't where it was, I could understand the thought that, hey, we are going to be just a little bit patient. Maybe we're going to go the cost-controlled route and draft a cornerback. Here's the thing, though. We've seen first-round cornerback bust. It's not like it hasn't happened. Emmanuel Forbes is a good example. Is he a bust? Not really by the biggest terms. Has he been a disappointment? Has he performed like a first-round pick when he was selected by the Commanders? The answer is no. And if the Rams were to draft a cornerback and that cornerback performed like Emmanuel Forbes did for the Commanders when they picked him in the first round a couple of years ago, well, guess what? The Rams would be in big trouble. The Rams likely wouldn't make a run at the Super Bowl. They needed proven talent at a position that was their most glaring need, and they acquired the very best cornerback that is going to get traded this offseason. And is he in the tier with Sauce Gardner where you would have to give multiple first-round picks? No, I don't think he is, but I certainly think that at his best, McDuffie is a top 5 cornerback, and last year, the Rams, they didn't have a top 50 cornerback as far as I'm concerned, and yes, guys played better at certain times, but they did not invest a lot at that position. And you look at the current roster, Darius Williams, he's a cut candidate. Emmanuel Forbes has to see if he's going to take that 5th-year option. And Josh Wallace is a guy that's in the slot. So you had to rebuild this cornerbacks room, and they did it with a player that you could say has the potential of being elite. So I think this was a move that on the surface level, I think the casual take is to say that it's an overpay, but on a deeper level, when you consider other things and considered that, hey, you're looking at this year to year with Matthew Stafford. I don't care if Matthew Stafford plays another 10 seasons. You still have to approach it like he's going to play one more season, because of the contract, because of the career, because of the injury history, because of the nature of being an NFL football player. Matthew Stafford is coming off an MVP season, and they have set it up where he's going to be year to year. And Matthew Stafford turns 39 next year. He's 38. So when you have a 38-year-old quarterback playing the best football of his career that might win another Super Bowl and ride off into the sunset, well, you had to get an experienced CB. And I look at free agency, there's no one out there. I mean, Jamel Dean, interesting, but there's no one out there that was, I think, worth the bag like Trent McDuffie has the potential to be worth. And I think this was the right decision. This was the move that was at the top of our Christmas list. If you watch my Dream Off Season episode for the Rams, I said you got to either trade for Trent McDuffie or sign a cornerback. And I was against drafting a quarterback with that 13th pick. And looks like there's a good chance that the Rams, unless they're watching Locked On Rams, because that's exactly what's happening. And I'm excited about it. If you saw today's episode, we spent time talking about the possibility of Trent McDuffie as an option and the connections that he does have with this Rams organization, and the fact that Jimmy Lake, who is one of his coaches at Washington, now has that position with the Rams where he was elevated. Hey, this is, I'm sure, something that was a factor. It's something that I'm sure was a factor in discussing, hey, let's go to him and see what he has to say about all this. But this move made just all the sense in the world. It really, truly did. And we talked about it this morning. McDuffie said a couple of years ago, he said in a video that's been kind of going viral a little bit, he was asked a couple of years ago at an event when he was speaking at a school event in August of 2025, if he could play for another team, who would that team be? And he said the Los Angeles Rams. He went to St. John Bosco High School. That's 15 miles away from SoFi Stadium. He said, if I could play for another team, I'd probably want to play close to my family. That'd probably be the LA Rams, so my family could come see me every single game. Pretty cool. So it makes a lot of sense. And like I said, the other layer, the Rams promoted Jimmy Lake from senior defensive assistant to passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach. They replaced Aubrey Pleasant with Jimmy Lake, and Lake, he coached him at Washington from 2014 to 2015. And McDuffie went on to play there from 2019 to 2021. And in 2019, Lake was the defensive coordinator at Washington. And in the final 2 seasons, he was there while he was there. So Lake had 2 different coaching stints at Washington, and one of them he was coaching McDuffie. So, hey, I'm pretty sure that Les Snead and Sean McVay consulted Jimmy Lake and said, hey, what are your thoughts on this guy? And I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Lake said, he's great. Let's go get him. And there's just a familiarity there, too. So you look like they're going to hit the ground running and work well together. And this is just something that we saw from a million miles away. I mean, this was something that was really telegraphed by Les Snead during his media session a couple days ago. Les Snead was asked whether he might be in the market for an all-pro to add to the Rams secondary. And Les Snead said, quote, is there an all-pro corner that you could add? That could be nice, but if there's not an all-pro, is there a player out there that adds an edge based on what we're trying to accomplish? Well, guess what? McDuffie was a first-team all-pro in 2023 as a slot corner and was a second-team all-pro the following season. And Les Snead, who knows? Was he referring to McDuffie? Things can be very fluid, and they can happen rapidly in this league. And also, too, what we talked about today was what I tell you. I said it was going to cost your top first-round pick, but that they would be able to get him for that 29th pick and then some picks later. And the good news is you didn't have to completely empty the war chest to go out there and swing a deal. Like, had this been for Sauce Gardner, that would have required 2 future first-round picks like the Colts gave up to get him from the Jets last season. Is Gardner a better player than McDuffie? Sure, you can make that case. That's certainly not something I'm here to debate. I think that that's pretty much well accepted, but still, you're getting a premier cornerback, and that's exactly what they needed. Like I said, he's in the final year of his rookie contract. That lowered his value a little bit too, just because some teams, unless you're willing to pay him, you're going to have as a rental, but most teams that are going to give that draft capital are going to have a plan in place to get a long-term deal done. So that's another reason why I like this move for the Rams too, is that if you're going to look to pay a cornerback, let's say McDuffie was just available in free agency, that price would be pretty high, but you can get a deal done with him. And yes, you gave that first round pick, but like I said, it is very possible they could trade down and get some of those picks back. But hey, this is a move that I'm very excited to talk about, just because if Trent McDuffie was on the Rams last season, could they be Super Bowl champions? Ask yourself that question. I mean, the cornerbacks, they were barbecue brisket. I mean, they got cooked again against top-level receivers, and yes, special teams was a concern too. But this is just that sign that, hey, guys, the last couple of years, it was fun. I would say you could even make the case they overachieved based on the fact that they had the most inexpensive defense in the National Football League right in that territory. And now the Rams are saying, we've got premier talent on the offensive side, and now we've got premier talent on the defensive side. And now remains to be seen is what they're going to do with that number 13 pick. But if you had any doubts, if you had any concerns about whether or not the Rams were all in, well, this answers your question. This signals that the F them picks era has returned to La La Land. The Rams are all the way in on going after the Super Bowl next season. And this is the first biggest domino that proves that. And this is the first of what I think are going to be several really interesting all-in moves that we're going to see this season. And the fireworks are going off. The sirens are going off, and we're going to be here to cover it all. But Trent McDuffie is a Los Angeles Ram.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. While the Rams get an elite corner in the deal with the Chiefs, Kansas City keeps stocking up on cap space and draft picks. Locked On Chiefs host Ryan Tracy and Chris Clark go over their side of the deal.
Trent McDuffie, we told you about the possibilities here. We're going to talk about what it was, the mechanics of it. And even though they didn't get the pick that I told you they should, they got more than it appears to be just by the numbers on this draft. Then what are the repercussions? What do the Chiefs have on this roster at the cornerback position? What do they have to work with and that they have to plan around? And then what are the draft options for this team at this position? How might it change what the draft philosophy is here, despite what Brett Veach has already told us this combine season? There's a lot to go over there. You can find more about it at all of our extra sites, all of our extra content. You can find Chris at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find me at NFL33.com, RGR Football, and RogueAPC.com, because now you want to go see who the best athletes are at the cornerback position, and I got you covered. We have been doing this together 9+ years, almost 10 at this point, and this is going to be a more exciting draft than maybe we've had the last couple of seasons, because now there's more at stake, and it starts and ends with the fact that Trent McDuffie was an all-pro. Could play inside, could play outside, and I said on my really emotional side on RGR just yesterday that I didn't want him to do it. I wanted him to stick around because I believe in raising and investing the guys that you develop. And you could say Trent McDuffie was going to be a Pro Bowler anyway, but you made him that much better. So this really comes down to one thing for me, and I'm, as much as I recognize value, I would have preferred they'd been able to lower the salary or whatever and get him on this roster. It wasn't able to be done. I wish that it had, but how do you feel about why this happened and the details of what we found out after the fact about a coming extension for him?
There's no way that the Chiefs were ever making this deal, period. Look at their roster, look at what they do and how they value players. He is a fantastic corner. He's probably a top 5 corner, especially if you're talking slot. Don't know that I would say that he's probably top 5 if you include all corner positions. I think he is very good, but he's going to be demanding over $30 million a year, and the Chiefs can't afford to pay that. That's what this comes down to. If the Rams want to pay that, congratulations to them. Good luck with that. Not saying that it won't work out for him. It may work out for him, but Kansas City didn't have the money to do this. They weren't going to pay him, and I am sure that I will be having a little bit more to say about this on the squad. I know how they feel about this trade, and when I look at that, it's going to be it's going to be a situation where it's going to be a conversation of what can't he do. He has been exposed in certain ways. He doesn't have the length to be a number one, or he has the length to be a number one, but it's not top tier best corner in the NFL. Yes, he's made all pros. Congratulations on that. Patrick Mahomes has been an all pro. He gets paid number 15, around 15th in the NFL in AAV at the position at QB. Trent McDuffie's looking for number 1. I don't blame him. Congratulations for getting paid. No problem there, but you can't pay him number 1 money. Sorry.
You're paying Creed number 1 money. You're paying Trent, Trent. You're paying him 4. I think it's 4. You're paying George Karlaftis 9. Like, you have too many top 10 players, and Patrick Mahomes isn't even one of them. You have a great point there. It makes it difficult. And what we have seen from reports is that it is pushing to be the number 1 cornerback contract, period, over Sauce Gardner. So the fact that that's what you were staring at made this a foregone conclusion. Now we shouldn't forget to mention that to go with this, as I told you 2 days ago, the Chiefs were still trying to shop Jawan Taylor. They were trying to pull off another trade, found no interest. So they did actually release him today. So he is officially coming off of the cap as well, which does help with the space. But this was the wheel and deal portion right here, right? The week after the combine. Now, what they got in compensation is probably the bigger conversation here.
Yeah, it is. And really quick, George Karlaftis is 14th in the NFL, so I don't feel as bad about that contract. Just throwing that out there. Nick Bolton is one of those other higher paid guys. But I also said this on X. The reality is you could pay your entire draft class and some free agents, several free agents, if not multiple, like maybe 5, with the money that you'd be paying Trent McDuffie. There's a reason they're doing this.
Yeah, and that's got to be. I thought I looked it up yesterday and Karlaftis was 9. Am I wrong, or is that just the guaranteed portion?
It might be the guaranteed portion, but when you're looking at total value, he is around 15th.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's the discrepancy. But that's exactly what you're talking about, is that the ability to do more with less is really what it comes down to. And I think there's a couple of things that Brett Veach, when faced with this concept that you weren't going to get away from this trade, that you had to do this, what you got in return is what makes the most sense here. You did get a first round pick, number 29. I did say 2 days ago that it should have been 13 if you were going to get value for what he's worth. But that was assuming, and I put in that scenario, that it would be 13 and a 5th or 13 and a swap of something later in the draft. In the end, the Chiefs get 29, still a first round pick, obviously. They also get a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, and most importantly, they get a top 100 in next year's draft, which by all accounts right now is to be much, much better and much deeper than this particular draft is going to be. So in the end, he pulled off value that came out around 20, which was a spot higher than Trent was drafted. So looking at it as a whole and being able to get a couple of different players, as you said, I think value here worked out. And I don't think that this was a bad trade for the Chiefs in terms of the value they got back for Trent McDuffie.
I think this is a trade they had to make. Maybe they could have gotten more. Maybe they could have gotten something from Dallas if they waited a little bit longer. But you get this deal done before free agency. It frees up your salary cap for free agency. The other reality of this is that you still haven't done any of your EFRAs. You haven't done any of your restricted free agents. You haven't done anything with Travis Kelce. You haven't tried to sign any of your own guys. All of that plays into why they had to make this move. I don't think they're done either. That's another thing. When we're sitting here looking at this, there are reports which I want to be clear. I don't necessarily believe that they're going to be doing the Chris Jones deal that somebody has reported. I will wait and see somebody with a little bit more clout when it comes to the chief organization say that. But if they do make that move, I'll also be very clear on this. If they make a move with Chris Jones's contract to free up $20 million, they're going to be major players in free agency. And it is a complete shift as to how they've built this team in the past. If they don't, that's different. But if they make a move with Chris Jones's contract, that says something because it really is going to hurt them in the future.
Yeah, that would be a significant shift.
The Hornets pick up a blowout win over the Celtics in Boston last night behind 20 points from Con Knippel. Walker Mell and Doug Branson have the recap on Locked On Hornets.
Doug, the Hornets just beat the Celtics 118-89 on the road.
Yes.
On the second night of a back-to-back.
Uh-huh.
After the Hornets had mechanical issues with their plane last night, so they don't even get into Boston until 4 a.m. What do they do? What do they do if they actually get a good night's rest? Do they win by 60? Anyways, all right. The Hornets, they beat the Celtics 118-89. It's the Celtics' largest loss of the season, losing by 29. Boston never led in this game. It marks Boston's second wire-to-wire loss of the season. It's the first since November 1st, okay, all the way back November 1st against the Rockets. It's the Celtics' third 20-point loss of the season. So the Hornets just beat the second-best team in the Eastern Conference, a squad already having tallied 40 wins on the year. So what does it mean for Charlotte? They've won 6 straight. They've won 10 straight road games. The NBA record is 16, if memory serves correct, with Eric Collins having mentioned that on the previous broadcast when the Hornets won the first night of a back-to-back, beating Dallas by 27. All right, they beat the Celtics by more than they beat the Dallas Mavericks. Now the Hornets, again, having won 6 straight games, they won each of those games by 15-plus points. It's the longest streak by any team since the 2017-2018 Warriors. Hey, they were pretty good. It's tied for the second longest streak in NBA history. LaMelo Ball is a maestro. Brandon Miller takes his turn, running bleep. Con Knipple, he got back on track tonight, had 20 points going into the fourth quarter. Hornets have a non-Melo ball handler, so now you don't have to rely on LaMelo being on the court for this offense not to go into complete shambles. LaMelo still the maestro of all maestros, and now the Hornets can tread water, and even more so, even go a little freestyle swimming in that water with Kobe White handling the basketball. I'll ask you the question. Are the Hornets just going to win the championship, Doug Branson? Is that what we're watching this year in 2025, 2026? Are we watching a championship contender?
I already came into this game saying that there wasn't any need at this point in time to put a ceiling on what the Charlotte Hornets could accomplish. We spent all preseason doing that, like saying, well, with this and that, maybe this could happen and that. All bets are off at this point. I think with the way they came into this game, the Hornets and the Celtics 1-2 in net rating starting in January 1 for the calendar year. These were the top 2 teams in net rating. And what you just saw was a massive win by the Charlotte Hornets, decimating their opponent. And I'll just read you, I haven't finished my game notes yet for every Hornets box score because I just had to run upstairs as fast as I could and get here on the live to say "Top-ho" to the live listeners as loud as I can without waking up the baby. Thank you so much to everybody. I mean, look, there's so many chats right now. I'm just going to have to randomly fire a few as we go through the show. But I haven't finished my game notes yet, but I just want to read to you what the first sentence I have down in my top of the line recap. The Charlotte Hornets reached their full form Wednesday night in Boston. They understood the assignment. They took this game as seriously as you could possibly take it from tip-off to final horn. They began the game with purpose, and that purpose was to destroy, was to annihilate, was to send a message to the rest of the NBA, and that message is the Hornets are here, they're here to stay, and there's not a single thing you can do about it.
So the Hornets now they've beaten a lot of contenders for the NBA championship. We can go back all the way to January 5th, the turn of the new year, when they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 124-97. And that was the, hey, everybody, it's time to wake up moment. Just pay attention. Just don't sleep on the Hornets, okay? You might think that this was an outlier, but everybody started talking about them a lot more from a national perspective after they beat the Thunder by almost 30 points. Then they'd have a couple of monstrous wins. They beat the Jazz by like 50. All right, whatever. They beat the Lakers by almost 20. Okay, Lakers, not all that crazy impressive, but fine, whatever. Then the next big win that they had, the next big one was against San Antonio on national television via Amazon with Eric and Dell still on the call. But they came back, and they actually showed a clip of Hornets Real Access in the pregame show with Shannon and Dell. And that clip on Hornets Real Access that they showed goes all the way back to that game against San Antonio, and it gives us a peek into the locker room when Charles Lee is challenging his team. Hey, last time we played on national television, I think we allowed the distractions to seep in, and we ended up losing that game. Here, against the Spurs, we need to keep our focus, and it's exactly what they did, and they beat San Antonio at home 111-106. Now here they are, having beaten the Boston Celtics 118-89. The Spurs game, it wasn't a trouncing of them, but it was still a pretty comfortable victory over the Spurs. They went into the locker room, I think, up 17 against San Antonio. So, Doug, you look at also the other fact that when you look at the NBA standings in the Western Conference, there was one point when they had beaten the top 4 seeds. Denver, okay, you can throw that out because they didn't have Jokic. Fine, whatever. They beat OKC. They beat San Antonio. They beat Houston. They only beat them by 10. They allowed the Rockets back to make that a little bit closer than what it really was in the fourth quarter. They beat the Lakers, and so now that's 5 of the top 6. The only team they didn't beat was Minnesota. There's just nothing else that you can say to convince people this team isn't real if they don't believe it right now. Last thing, though, I don't think we have that problem anymore. I don't think that there's any convincing that we need to do. I think people understand the Charlotte Hornets are very real, and I want no part of them if that is a team that we could potentially play in the first round playoff series.
Got a great live comment here on YouTube. If you're listening to this the morning after, check out our YouTube page if you haven't already, youtube.com/@LockedOnHornets. We have a lot of fun. This is a comment from Nady2468 who said, my favorite thing from the Hornets this year is when Charles Lee went in the locker room and said having fun is going and kicking the other team's bleep. And man, that's all we've done. We're having fun now. Are we having fun yet? We absolutely are. And with all due respect to all of those amazing games that you just mentioned and the results and the whoopings that the Hornets have put on those other teams, honestly, to me, those other games are rendered meaningless in the face of what they've just done to the Boston Celtics. This wasn't belt to ass, folks. This was Celt to ass. This was they threw him in the harbor. I mean, this was a taking apart. You could see I saw it in the second quarter. The body language on the Boston Celtics was terrible, and the Celtics had come into this game on a really good streak themselves. I mean, I think they had won like 7 of their last 10. It wasn't like the Celtics came into this game limping. In fact, the Hornets limped into Boston at 4 o'clock in the morning because their plane had troubles on the second night of a back-to-back. And then they said, doesn't matter because our grasshopper in Charles Lee is going to bite the head off of your sensei in Joe Mazzulla, who needed a hug. He needed another 17 timeouts. He needed something. Maybe he needs Jason Tatum. I don't know, but they couldn't handle the Charlotte Hornets on a Wednesday night in March.
Jaylen Brown was frustrated, got the technical foul, and you're right, it was the Hornets limping. Their plane was limping heading into Boston, and they get in at 4 a.m. on the second night of a back-to-back, and even still, they come away with a victory.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 6 and 60. The Thunder went into New York and picked up a 3-point win over the Knicks. Rylan Stiles goes over the victory on Locked On Thunder.
Let's start with who was out and eventually would be out, because I think that it matters a lot in this game. The Thunder did not have J-Dub. They did not have AJ Mitchell, although, the Hoop Collective talked about that injury. You can go hear what Tim McMahon had to say about it. With AJ Mitchell, those guys hopefully back sooner than later for OKC. But in this game, Ihart left with left calf tightness, and Caruso left with a hip contusion this game early. The Knicks did not have Mitchell Robinson. So I think that it did change this game, and we'll get into how it did. But this game started out great defensively and stayed that way all the way through for Oklahoma City. The Knicks were 4 of 15 shooting early in this game, and that helped the Thunder spark transition chances, and they had the threes falling from Chet Holmgren and from Chet Holmgren alone, because in that sequence, the Thunder were 0 for 8 at the final buzzer from 3 in the first quarter. And Chet went 4 for 6 in that frame to keep them afloat. Now the Knicks, they closed these quarters really well. They had a really strong close to the first quarter, really strong close to the second quarter, and absolutely dominated the last 8 minutes of the third quarter. But their defense really impressed tonight from New York. I thought that this was something that we talked about earlier in the preview edition of the Knicks Thunder Locked On Thunder crossover, where Gavin was telling us how the Knicks defense has really been better lately. And tonight it showed out. I mean, this was a very physical game on both sides. Both sides had a ton of energy in this game. And I have a massive amount of respect for the possessions that the Knicks put together, just suffocating SGA, suffocating this Thunder offense. I do wonder how that changes when the Thunder have other creators like J-Dub and AJ back, but you got to give credit to the versatility, the length, the size, the physicality of New York for getting it done. This game stayed messy on offense all the way through for OKC, but the Thunder did enough, like putting together that 10-2 run to start the second quarter to keep the car on the road, as SGA said after the game, as it's a very big Thunderism after every game. The Thunder led by 10 at halftime, and exclusively due to Chet Holmgren offensively and great defense throughout, as we just talked about. And it was always a situation here for OKC where you always see somebody step up. Like at halftime, Shea had 11 points, facing very aggressive coverages. Isaiah Joe and McCain were not hitting from three and didn't hit all night from three. And you're thinking, how in the world is OKC up by 10? How in the world did the Thunder win this game? It's because Chet Holmgren in that first half had 22 points. And a flurry of stops got the Thunder up by 14 in the third quarter, and the Knicks called the timeout, and that's when their run started. It was 13-4 to get the game back within 6 points midway through the third quarter, and then that run parlayed 24-9 for New York to tie the game with about 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And once again, they go on another run out of that stoppage, and they were able to take the lead in this game again at the end of the third quarter and start of the fourth quarter. It was a absolute rock fight, a playoff level game, an NBA Finals level game where the atmosphere was great, the defense was great, the compete level and physicality were all great. So I think that whenever you look at what the Thunder were able to do tonight to get this win, it only grows more impressive when you talk about even Jalen Brunson getting going in that third quarter for 11 points in that frame, and they still got the win. Bridges knocking down that three with 1.1 seconds left in the third to take the lead after being down by 15 points was huge, and the Thunder responded very well. After holding New York to 40 points in the first half, the Knicks scored 40 points in just the third quarter of this game. And it turned into one of my favorite kind of games, a something has to give game where the Thunder are 20-0 this season whenever they are up by 10 points at half. And the Knicks are 19-0 this season when they take a lead into the fourth quarter. Something had to give, and it was the Thunder who got their 21st win in that scenario, and Knicks their first loss in that scenario after OKC starts the fourth quarter on a 12-3 run, as they started every quarter strong, the Thunder did, but they didn't close quarters particularly well until the fourth quarter when they got the stop they needed at the buzzer, because New York once again responds, making some shots when the Thunder offense stalled. The Thunder were making missable shots. The Thunder were missing makeable shots all night tonight, and it was inconsistent all night from the Thunder offense, but OKC gets up by 8 in clutch time with under 3 to go. Cat fouls out. The Thunder once again opened the door back up by missing shots, and the Knicks got it to down 3 with just 6 seconds left. And that's where New York had 2 looks at a three-pointer to send it to overtime, but OKC wins. And so the Thunder got up by 15 points because of their defense, in spite of messy stretches. And because of their defense, they kept New York to only growing a 4-point lead in this game at any time. Throughout 6 lead changes, throughout 4 ties, New York could only get up by 4. And that's where defense wins championships. That's where defense is really this team's calling card because it can bail them out of so many scenarios. You go up and down this list tonight. OKC shockingly had 15 turnovers, which is so against their MO of being a team that does not turn the ball over. So much so, they lost the turnover battle tonight to New York, who only had 13. The Thunder shockingly only had 20 points in the paint. New York had 46. The Thunder typically dominate that category. The Knicks had 20 second chance points to OKC's 10. The Knicks dominate fast break 14-2. And you do wonder, like we mentioned, about how the Thunder's offense could have been better with AJ and J-Dub. You wonder how much more the Knicks could have killed OKC on the glass with Mitchell Robinson if he was active in this game. And so these two sides really battled out well tonight, and it was a fun game to watch. But at the end of the day, New York had 15 more shot attempts than OKC. They won the possession battle in a big way and still got the loss. How did it happen? Because you ever dares know, we talk about the three-point shot being the great equalizer. The Thunder made 38% of their threes. They made 16 triples, 6 more than New York did, with the percentages to kind of back it up. OKC shot 45% from the floor, 38% from 3, and 84% at the charity stripe. New York shot 42%, 28%, and 72%. This game deserves a lot of flowers because I know that in a modern NBA, we always skew negative with the coverage and the talking points and the discussions. But man, when you look at what these two teams did tonight, they dug deep to bring a finals level energy. The Garden was alive. These teams were physical. These teams didn't take a possession off defensively for 48 minutes, and they were both on the second night of a back-to-back. And I thought that was so impressive by each side. And the Thunder get this win when a lot of the stats say that they shouldn't, but the stat that mattered most tonight actually wasn't a stat. It was just the intensity of their defense. So score one for Nico Harrison, because yes, defense does win championships, and the Thunder got the win tonight, 103-100 in this game over New York.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. CJ Cox scored 27 points for Purdue as the Boilermakers avoided an upset against Northwestern yesterday. Nick Arvin has the recap of the win on Locked On Boilermakers.
I don't even know where to start with last night. It was one of the most insane games, and not for good reasons. It's not because Purdue played exceptionally well. In fact, I would say that Purdue played pretty poorly outside of one or two guys last night. But ultimately, when you have 27 points from CJ Cox, you're going to win more games than not. Although it was against a Northwestern team that is sub 500, he made every big shot, every key play down the stretch of this game. When the seniors needed to rely on him, he showed up. And those seniors need to write CJ Cox a thank you letter. They need to buy him a present. I don't know what they need to do, but CJ Cox might have just saved Purdue's season last night with 27 points. And this is a game that the Boilermakers trailed for a large majority of the game. They were down by 9 points at halftime. It was one of the worst performances I've seen all season long, maybe in his Purdue career. It's got to be one of the worst games Braden Smith has ever had. Also had 9 assists, but the turnovers were really rough there. Almost gave Northwestern the game there at the end. But when it matters, CJ Cox made every three down the stretch. Every three he made, it was either 4 or 5 down there at the end of the game. They all gave Purdue the lead. So let's get into this game a little bit so you guys can understand. I'm sure you all watched it just as I did, watch the horror unfold in front of your eyes as it looked like Purdue was going to lose one of the worst possible games they could have lost on the year. It would have been incredibly embarrassing. Purdue, they trailed practically this whole game, and it's because the seniors didn't show up in this one. Braden Smith, he was really poor. As I said, finishes off this game with 7 points, didn't have any points until halfway into the second half. 5 of his points came at the free throw line. Does get out of here with 9 assists. But when you talk about Braden Smith, and that's going to be the big storyline out of this one, alongside CJ Cox, he was getting doubled to start out this game and just couldn't find out how to break that. I don't know if he just hasn't seen that this year. It was a unique look that Northwestern was giving out. It was just concerning that Northwestern was playing so much harder than Purdue was to start out this game. This is a Wildcats team that has 0 shot unless they make a miracle run in the Big Ten tournament at getting an at-large bid in March Madness. So this is a team with practically nothing to play for at this point in the year, except for beating Purdue on their home floor on senior day. And that's what they almost did. Purdue starts out so slow in this game. And I got to a point in this one where I almost wanted to turn the game off. I've seen it so many times with this team this year where they'll get down at halftime to not even good teams. We saw this against Ohio State. Ohio State is definitely a better team than Northwestern, but you get down at the half and you just can't come back. So the fact that Purdue does come back in this game, is it a little bit of a silver lining? I guess, but it's still concerning the way that this one played out and the way that Purdue had zero fight. Northwestern completely outmatched Purdue in terms of energy to start out this game. And I was left thinking, is there something going on in the locker room? I know that's been thrown around by various different sources throughout the past couple of weeks as Purdue has really struggled. I don't know if there's anything to that, but these guys certainly don't appear to be having fun out there, or at least they didn't in the first half. They trail by 9 at halftime, come out in the second half, and they start to get into a little bit of a flow. Certainly on the boards, that was really big for Purdue in the second half as they started to get more second chance opportunities. But when it mattered, CJ Cox took over this game. He made 3 after 3 after 3. And let's talk about CJ Cox for a second. Outside of a Purdue victory, which they did sneak out in this game right down to the wire because of those timely threes, Braden Smith does actually make a couple key free throws there to seal the victory. CJ Cox this year has been a guy that he's shown flashes, no doubt about it. He's in the starting lineup for a reason, but on a low volume, he's a low volume type guy where he's not going to shoot a ton of shots. When he makes them, it provides a lot for you. But in a game like this, where Braden Smith can't get it going, where the rest of your guys are just really struggling to shoot the ball well, Fletcher Lawyer, 2 of 6 from three-point range, only had 10 points. The fact that you have CJ Cox in this game, and he shoots the ball 13 times, 4 times more than anybody else on the floor. He's able to make 10 of those, 27 points. That's something that he can provide. You might be able to use that going into the Big Ten tournament. Now, there are a lot of different concerns surrounding this team right now, and I feel like this game against Northwestern really showcased a lot of that off. But that's what we've been asking this Purdue team to find outside of these seniors who need to show up. One more guy, one more role player, if that's what you want to call CJ, someone off the bench or CJ or Nasser Clough to really show up and provide some value outside of just those 3 guys. That's what this team has needed to take it to the next level. And we see in the second half that when you rely on CJ Cox, when you trust him to make shots, he can do it for you. CJ is one of the most confident basketball players you're going to find in just his sophomore year. I see him clicking right now with this team. And I know I say this, and I know it's tough to be optimistic when you see a result like this. Yes, it's a win, but a game where Purdue was really outplayed for a good majority of the game. It's hard to find silver linings, but that's what I'm going to try to do. We still have season left to play. With a win over Northwestern, Purdue is in a really good spot, which we'll talk about when we get to the Big Ten bracket and the bracketology. But Purdue is still in a really good spot to make a run. And you hear all the talk. You hear what Braden Smith says, posting an Allen Iverson photo, which that's a conversation for another day. We already got to that. But you see all these different things, all the different narratives surrounding this Purdue team, that they're going to get upset in the first round, that they're not going to make it farther. This team has no possibility of making a run in March. Everything is still in front of this team. As much as they struggled, as much as they've lost as of late, if you have CJ Cox and if he's able to provide good production for you alongside the defense, the best defender on the floor where you needed him for that tonight as well. Braden Smith wasn't playing good defense. Fletcher Lawyer wasn't playing good defense. The bigs definitely struggled at times guarding their stretch big. When you have CJ on the defensive side and he can provide offense for you, you don't even need 27 points for him. But if he can give you 10 or 15 on any given night, that's a formula for success for this Boilermaker squad. Everything is still in front of this team, and that's the bottom line. I don't care about results. I don't care what's happened to this point. It's 0-0 right now. After you get past Wisconsin, it's 0-0, a fresh start. If you have CJ Cox, he's able to produce for you alongside these seniors. You can consistently have 4 different guys in double figures. This is a team that still has upside. Once again, I'm going to state this so no one gets on me on the comments. And if you do, you do. This was not a pretty victory by any stretch of the imagination. It's one that I thought Purdue was going to lose until CJ went on a hot streak. But what he did was he removed this team from the scenario of just being in a disastrous situation. He removed the embarrassment from this team. It's a renewed season now. And I know saying that is crazy after a 4-point win over Northwestern, but the season starts fresh right now. It goes into Wisconsin on Saturday, senior day at Mackey Arena. You're 0-0, a fresh start for Purdue. A win over Northwestern allows you to be in that spot.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. Wisconsin blew out Maryland last night with Braden Carrington leading the way off the bench. Locked On Badgers host Ryan Herrings breaks down the win.
I want to start here, Mike. I think one of the coolest moments of the season, we're going to get into Nolan Winter. We're going to get into Nick Boyd and this game and what it means. But seeing Isaac Gard, like, I'm a dad. I got two kids. I got two boys. And just seeing the moment where Isaac Gard hits the three, comes off, hugs his dad, Greg's in borderline tears, the crowd's going nuts. As a dad, that's one of the coolest moments I've seen all year. I loved it. I thought it was tremendous. I was so happy for them. And by the way, he hits the three on like a deep pump fake, like unbelievable moment, man. And I just loved it for everything. It's everything sports should be about. It's everything dads and sons should be about. It was a tremendous moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of showed that for the Gard families, basketball is a family business, right? So, and I mean, it's senior night. They're dominating Maryland in the Kohl Center. The place erupted after he hit that three. And like you said, it's contested well behind the arc, right in front of the bench, right in front of his dad. And then it walks off, gets the hug. Greg Gard's in tears. Isaac even gives a little pump to the crowd as he's walking off the floor. I mean, that's sports kind of all wrapped up into one moment right there. So it was wonderful to watch that.
And how many times has Greg been rebounding for Isaac? How many times have they just shot around? It's just unbelievable. Like, I love the moment. And the first time down the court, they actually ran kind of a stagger action for him. They were trying to get him a shot. I just love that moment. And honestly, this would be maybe my favorite game of the year, outside of the Michigan game and the Michigan State game and the Illinois game. If it wasn't for the Nolan Winter injury, I loved everything about Boyd getting the ovation coming off, Braden Carrington getting the ovation, Gard hitting that shot. It was
really got a standing O coming off. I mean,
it was just tremendous. Let's do game balls. Let's start there. Who's your game ball today?
Yeah, so my game ball is going to Isaac Gard, 4 years playing at UW. 4 Gard hit that shot right in front of his dad. I mean, the whole team was in on that. So the set you just talked about when he first came on, the whole team was in on that set. Nobody was sitting on the bench. Assistant coaches, the starters, they were all up. And of course he rimmed it, but whatever. He comes back and gets the next one. So game ball's going to Isaac Gard. He deserves it. He's been grinding on that practice squad for 4 years. So give him his moment and there's your game ball. But
yeah, those guys are important for the team too. The culture, the people on the bench, those are the people that are in there every day in practice and every film study and every lift, in every shoot around. If you're surrounded by people who have bad attitudes and are bad culture guys, it hurts. So having guys on the bench, Greppy's another one, Robeson, guys who don't play a lot but are good culture guys, Kinzinger's another one. Greg Gard builds a good culture. He generally gets teams full of good kids, and his as well, apparently. Obviously Isaac as well. So it was just a tremendous moment. My game ball is going to Braden Carrington, who continues to hit YOLO shots. It's unbelievable, man. He coming off the last game where he shot 15 threes, he hit 9 of them. I texted to my buddy, I'm like, who is this guy coming off the bench taking 15 threes? And today, the thing is, people know, like, if you play enough hoops or anything you do in life, if you do enough of it, you get in routines and habits, right? People know he takes deep shots, but they're so deep that people are still hesitant to contest him because there's no way this dude is going to shoot this. He's been unbelievable, man. What did he get today? 6 threes, 6 of 10, 4 of 8. Sorry, 6 of 10 from the field.
4 of 8 from 3. Yeah,
unbelievable this year for Braden Carrington as a shooter. I mean, he's developed into one of the best shooters in the Big Ten. And as a guy who was brought in from the portal as kind of a late, we think he can help us a little bit addition, he's become one of the best 3-and-D players in the Big Ten. Just a tremendous player, tremendous season. Awesome to see him get that standing O. Braden Carrington just continues to do Braden Carrington things, Mike.
Yeah, he's shooting from well behind the arc to the point where defenses aren't even considering him a threat at that range. So I think that'll change here moving into postseason play. We'll see. I know the scouting reports get a little tight. How would you say it? A little tighter look over going into tournament play. And plus you're playing the top 64 teams, right? So we'll see if they start challenging him out further beyond that arc there. But yeah, I mean, total 18 points, 24 minutes, 2 of 2 from the line, 2 rebounds. Braden Carrington can't beat those numbers. Still coming off the bench, which I didn't see the start of the game. Did he come off? He came off the bench, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, you still got that fire coming off the bench, which don't want to get into this just yet. He might be moving at this point, so who knows? I guess you're gonna have to put Rapp. I don't know, Bialuskas. We'll talk about that, I guess, a little bit later when you want to. But also Rapp, by the way, let's see, Rapp's 11 points on 17 minutes. Good contribution there. I saw him hit like 2 threes in a row or something like that, kind of to start pulling away. So Rapp had a good game put together there. Kins with a couple nice assists down inside the paint. Kind of snuck some balls in there. So just a couple of things I'm spitting off the top of my head. But Blackwell, 14 points on 27 minutes. Not a bad showing.
I liked how he started. Yeah, I liked how JB started. Started aggressive, got in the paint a couple times, hit a 3 in transition, hit a little fadeaway baseline turnaround shot, which we've been begging for mid-range stuff. Like, he's so good, man. Blackwell is so good. And when he's aggressive getting in the paint, I think it opens up everything in his game, but everyone else's game. I thought he played well. I love your point on Kins. I think, and I've said it from the jump, whether or not he ended up getting much time this year, which obviously he didn't, I think he has a feel for the game. You can see it. He has a really nice ability to get in the paint and pass. He had a steal, had a layup. I think he's going to play for you next year. I thought Garlock had a couple moments, a couple big rebounds, had a block, tried to stuff one at the end. I liked how he played. Just overall, I think just about everybody played pretty well. And Boyd, to me, it kind of just felt like he let the game come to him and everyone else. He didn't force anything, which I thought was nice too. It was a great game all around. To your point, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. That's gonna be the next segment. But I think there's so much good to celebrate about tonight with Guard, with the standing ovations for several players. That let's stay there. Bit of a slow start, but after that, the game was fully in control. Anybody else you wanted to talk about today? Because I got one more I'm gonna throw out there.
Let me take a look. Rhodey putting up 28 minutes. I mean, the depth chart here, he emptied the bench at a point in time there. But Will Hanna with the comment, Garlock blocking the shot. How many blocks did we have today? Winter had a few. Garlock had one. I think there's a couple more. But now we'll go into, what was your honorable mention there at the end?
Yeah, it's more of a team thing. And I want to point out with the caveat, Maryland's really bad. No hyperbole. Right. That is a rough team. And my goodness, how far that program has fallen from what Maryland traditionally has been. But I thought the defense, it's more of a team thing. I thought the defense played really well today. They were a lot of loose balls they got to. They kept people in front of them. They contested shots. Again, it's easier when you're playing a Maryland team that they just aren't very good. I mean, they are some of their own worst enemies. But I thought the defense played hard nonetheless. So the Badgers went on a run. I think the defense keyed that. So I want to give credit there. They definitely locked in at about 5 minutes left in the first half. And from that point on, Maryland just couldn't get anything going. So I thought the defense played well, and we hit a lot of the players.
That's all for today's Big 6 and 60. If you follow basketball, football, or college sports, the Big 3 and 30 has a half hour on the biggest news in the NFL, the NBA, and on campus, going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA, the Big 3 and 30 NFL, or the Big 3 and 30 college, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 6 in 60.